Nice round of applause. You need a nice warm hand on a night like this, don't you, in Devon? Anna and John here. We'll come to Head Gardener McGrady in just a moment. Is it cold in the UK at the moment, Anna?
3 layers freezing. Yes, it's yes. Well, I was trying to work out which temperature is accurate. My phone says 1 degree. Computer says it's -1, and my smart speaker is saying 0. So yes, it's
around zero. Around zero. And have you had any snow where you are? I know they've had snow in London.
I haven't seen any actual falling snow, although the cars were quite iced up this morning. So yes, sort of a thin layer rather than having to chip it off, I think. So yeah, it's pretty cold. So yes, moving
one
about.
of the milder parts of the UK, Devon, in the southwest of the UK. John, just down the road from Anna. How are you, John? -1 where you are, I think you said.
It is indeed, yes, and yeah, I think it's quite cold. Doesn't seem to be too much ice because luckily the road's relatively dry where I am. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be the ice. There was the frost on the cars this morning and the frost on the grass, which took ages to melt. So yeah, that took a while. Obviously, took ages to melt, and yeah, it just seems to be fairly it's
chilly.
cold, yeah, basically.
Chilly. Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Hope you've had a good week. Let's see what's going on this evening. I think we've got a couple of questions, and we do have a special guest this evening. Our most special guest, of course, is Head Gardener McGrady. Let's bring him on. Hello, Lee. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, a little bit damp, but good.
Okay,
yeah.
and would you
damp
believe
on the inside?
Damp on the inside, 17 degrees on the Silver Coast. It's really mild here. It has been windy. I went over to the coast to walk the dogs earlier on today, and the sea's looking pretty choppy. The bay is being dredged here in San Martino de Porto, so the water's really brown anyway, with sand in it. But nice maritime effect here. We're getting a lot of rainfall. I think you've got warnings for Lisbon tonight, Lee.
Yeah, we've had I've just received a government text message warning of 100 millimeters of rain.
Yeah.
We had a couple of heavy downpours last week.
Yeah.
The day's been just non-stop, been horrendous, but mild.
Yeah,
it
is mild, isn't it?
Actually, in between the rain, it's pleasant to be out.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Everything is sodden. Everything is like
the ground is so wet at the moment. The reservoirs are getting filled up here in Portugal, which was everybody's concern. I believe 60% of December's rainfall fell in just one day when they had the terrible floods in Lisbon just recently, where some of the railway stations and roads were completely overrun by surface water. Anyway, so be careful if you're in Portugal and in the UK with the frozen conditions over in the UK and the heavy rains here in Portugal. Go on, Lee.
I've been coming here for 9 years now.
Yeah,
permanently here for the past 3-4 years, whatever. And I've seen it like this maybe 3 or 4 times. When Lisbon, just sort of every other year, Lisbon gets flooded out and the shops all get washed out.
Yes,
and they're quite used to it. They've all got little protective barriers by the doors, and people come out and pop the drain lids open.
Oh, okay, so they're well prepared. All right,
it's just bad infrastructure, isn't it? It's just laid out badly.
Yes, and it's ancient infrastructure. I think there were plans to change the infrastructure that are being brought forward and may start in the new year. So you can read about that in the Portuguese press. And Matty's here, Boa Segunda, happy growers. There are a few happy growers here tonight. Phil, very good of you to tune in. I know you're on the move. Botar, Gumper growers, that's nice. Simon in from the UK with a chili emoji as well. Question comes to mind. Oh, we'll come back to that. Thank you for that, Matty. I'll star that up and we'll put that in with the questions that Anna has for us. And a special guest at 6:30, we've got Siobhan joining us from the Quinta Salir de Porto, which is a great place I visited just recently, just down the road from me. And Siobhan's going to join us to tell us all about that project there. Yeah, thank you, Phil. 17 on the Silver Coast. And John, do you want to read your message out to everybody?
Yes. So this is a bit of an extra bit to the message today, as you might imagine with the guests. But if you forgot to let Anna know about your question or have only just thought of one, let us know here in the comments. Also, if you have a question or questions for our guest who is appearing from 6:30, let us know in the comments.
Very nicely done, sir. Rains for days here in Pombal. Good for the garden, not so much for me. Yeah, Matty wants to go out and walk his dogs, doesn't he? And do Tai Chi outside and stuff like that. But you'll wait just a little bit longer. The darkest days will soon be behind us after a couple of weeks, right? Benoit cultivadores from Pips in Botswana. How cool is that? And Phil, rainy here. Great for my garlic and bok choy. I planted on the south side of the house. A bit much for the driveway, aka the driving pool. So you're nodding in agreement there, Lee. It's good for the leafy greens, is it, and the garlic?
Well, my lettuce has put on, it's trebled in size in the last week, and I can only put it down. I can only put it down to mild days and the heavy rains.
Yeah.
That it's not. It's not that I was concerned it might damage the leaves because they are a delicate green.
Yeah.
But the rain comes, it lies them flat, and then within an hour of the rain stopping, they stood back up again. But it's giving the slugs and the snails the ideal ground for them to move around on.
Oh yes.
And if you use these slug pellets, then 2 heavy drops of rain on them, and they're useless.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a battle at the moment with the slugs, but we'll get there.
You need a direct hit with a slug pellet, really, don't you? Rather than it all being diluted across the ground like that.
It's okay to cast them across the ground. Well, no, it's not okay because you really shouldn't use them. But you cast them across the ground, and then normally they can lie there for a week or so. But in this heavy rain, they've gone in 2 days, and it's costing a fortune to keep up the routine. But then you're just adding more and more chemical to the soil. Yeah, and that really can't be good.
Well, interesting. There, you say you shouldn't be using them. Have you actually transformed your slug control over the years? Then?
Oh, I still use them on and off. I know when I need to use them. But as we've spoken in the past, I like to use the nematodes.
Yes.
The anti-slug nematodes. But they've also got like a 6 week of a window you can use them in where they're active. So using the beer traps, using minimum slug pellets, using maximum nematodes, it's the way to go. It's of a combination of all the effort, and then going out and picking them up as well.
I'm putting them in a frying pan. Says I don't think so. Snails maybe, Matty, but not slugs.
Throwing them over the road, over the fence onto the road, and listening for the crack when they hit the floor, or the slop when the slugs hit the floor.
Oh dear. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Very graphic. This evening.
It's my bit of fun.
Yes, Lee's bit of fun throwing slugs into his next door neighbour's garden, maybe as well. Over to you, Anna. Then we got a couple of questions in already, haven't we? And thank you if you're new here tonight. I think we may have some new people tuned in. Do introduce yourself, if you will.
Yeah, we've got a question in from Dave and Debbie. They I'm not sure where in Portugal they are from, but they are in Portugal. But they said, have you got any suggestions regarding pruning guides, possibly YouTube? Many thanks.
Thank you, Dave and Debbie. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, there's an Australian guy, and his name's just goes straight on my head now that you've said it. Let me come back to that.
Jeff Lawson.
No, he's an Australian, and he's got a great channel. And for the life of me, I can't think what it's called.
Well, he's your favourite pruner, is he?
No, he's my favourite horticulture veg grower. But he does everything from soil improvement to pruning, keeping chicken compost. And because the climate here in the part of Australia he's in is so similar, it really does overlap. And I can't, I type it in every other bloody week. Oh, his name won't come to me. Well, I'll come back to it because it'll come to me in about 10 minutes and I'll mention it then. If not, I'll post it in the Facebook page.
Right. And is he the guy who used to be a filmmaker and photographer who in the lockdown decided to start gardening? Because he's fantastic as well.
No, this guy's well before the lockdown. He was on YouTube. He had a massive following well before the lockdown.
Okay, somebody might know. Okay, Lee, check your phone YouTube app.
He's ex-military with a big grey beard. Ex-Australian military.
All right, interesting.
It's a great channel. I'll share it anyway in the Facebook chat, in the Facebook page.
Nice one.
It'll sort of overlap for everybody.
Beautiful. Okay, so David Debbie can get some pruning from him and others.
There's also a Californian one, but if you just type in, because this is how I found it, Californian fruit tree pruning. It's the first one that comes up on the YouTube recommendations.
Nice. Okay.
It's a guy and his wife, and they do loads. And again, California is really similar climates, and it's all the same fruits that we grow here. Yeah. So I think, yeah, you've got to be when you're YouTubing for Portugal. There is nothing. There's nothing in English anyway. So going for Australia and California, we really do have that similar climate, the similar problems with insects and stuff. So
that's a great tip. Thank you for that. OLP also here tonight. Bon dia, happy gardeners, and a little bit of feedback on the slugs and snails. Crushed eggshells around the plants. The slugs don't like to go over them. I also have used copper strips around my small flower bed, and they won't go over that either. I think they get a little bit of a metallic kind of shock, don't they? Look, is this right? A self-sufficient me says
that's it. Self-sufficient me. That's the Australian guy.
Self-sufficient me in Botswana.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Orin Martin is the Californian tree dude from Phil Ruff. How about that? Community power. Yeah. Superb. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great stuff. All right. Over to your next question then, Anna, if you will.
Right. This one was sent actually just before 6, so I just got this one in time. This one's from Fiona. My question is, or Fiona's question is, when will the rain ease up? This one's for everyone, I think. Has anyone managed to do any gardening this week, or is everyone knee deep in seed catalogues? If so, which ones are your favourites? And she says UK, Portugal, and anywhere else, and why? As in,
question. Yeah, seed catalogue times. Getting out of the rain and looking at your catalogues. Have you been doing much of that this week, Lee?
No, I've been out working.
Of course.
Come on, not to me down. It's just raining. It's just raining. I was born with waterproof skin, so I'm.
Oh yes, of course. A northerner from the UK. You're waterproof, aren't you? Yeah, yeah.
There's always something that can be done. I mean, you've got to be careful. You don't want to be turning soil over in this rain because you're just going to turn it into mush. You're going to walk on it. You're going to make a mess. You're going to damage the soil. Yeah. But there's always stuff that can be done. You can be in the potting shed doing your seeds. You can be keeping up with your diary. You can show your diary. Turning your compost over is great in the rain.
Yeah,
especially in Portugal, we've got that dry compost that really doesn't generate heat the same. Lots of pruning to be done at the moment, so that's always doable.
And you get your friend, the Robin arrives. When you turn over your compost, your Robin pal's going to turn up and sit on the end of your spade.
She was actually with me today. I was chopping wood today.
Yeah.
And some of the older pieces of wood that I'd cut at the start of the year, the bark was coming off in big pieces, and I was throwing the bits of bark. And she was jumping on the bark and taking out all the grubs and bugs off the bark. Beautiful. So she was, like I say, within 3 or 4 foot of me sometimes.
Yeah.
And then chirping at me when I weren't working quick enough and hard enough.
What's it? More bugs.
No, she was actually on a couple of occasions, but I kind of forgot she was there. She was whistling at me. I said, "I'm here. Throw me something."
How lovely! How lovely, man and bird in the garden.
Also weeding at the moment with the heavy rain. If you've got any flower beds or veg beds, the weeds are racing away. So there's always something to be done.
Yes, holy bits of bark, Batman, says John. And Siobhan was with us for a moment, she's disappeared again. That's Siobhan from the Quinta Salir de Porto, who's our special guest. Maybe a little bit of a technical issue there. We'll be joining. Oh, she's back again now. We'll bring her on in just a moment after she's had time to acclimatise. But yeah, the big question then for Fiona: when is it going to stop raining? When does your magic seaweed say it's going to stop raining, Lee?
This year, I wouldn't like to bet on it. This is ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Okay.
I know on my phone app forecast, we've got this for 10 days now. We've got 10 more days of this. Where it's 80 to 90% chance of rain for the next 10 days.
Oh, good Lord.
It's not all as heavy as what it is now. Some of it's a couple of mils, but yeah, we're in for well after Christmas, I think.
I'm so over, yeah, I know, but people say we need it and it's only nature. I've had enough of that now. Cabin fever is really setting in. 10 more days, not a good look. Okay, let's give her a nice round of applause. Siobhan is joining us now. Yes, good evening to you, Siobhan, from the fabulous.
Good evening, everyone.
Salir de Porto. Look at that. That's your lovely view in the daytime there, isn't it? Siobhan, thank you so much for joining us. Really great to have you here.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And what a lovely...
It's nice to be here.
Well, you're joining the panel as well as being our special guest this evening. We'll come back to Matty's question,
Wow.
of his vines, because you know a thing or two, don't you, about growing, or you've had to learn it just recently with this wonderful project that you're involved in that overlooks the bay at San Martino de Porto. How did that happen?
Yeah, crazy dream. I had a piece of land here that was gifted to me about 10 years ago. And my partner and I decided that we'd pretty much sick of the rat race in the UK and France and wherever we'd been. So we decided to turn our little piece of land into a safe space, a little paradise place for animals, people, everything. So yeah, it was quite a challenge. We had to, it was just bush at first. 3 years ago, we had our first tractor come in and unfortunately had to cut down some trees that I wish we didn't, but we had to because they were growing over the street, basically the road to the neighbors, and then it was bush, so we had to clear out. And of course, they didn't listen to our instructions. So we wanted to keep the natural border to avoid erosion because we are in a sandy and clay area. And it was a disaster. They cleared the bottom part, just took everything out. So then we were, faced with a lot of problems, erosion problems, etc. And COVID hit, and I kind of looked at the land thinking, what am I doing? And we started planting. And so luckily for us, I have an incredible horse. And I say that's my gold is my horse. So we've managed to stop all the erosion, and we've planted probably between 300 and 400 different plants on the land. And yeah, I know everyone hates the rain, but I'm always happy for my plants because the trees are growing.
Right.
And
I'll stop moaning. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We've all had a little bit enough of it. I do agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been going.
Yes, it's cool.
Okay.
So I've gained a little bit of experience here.
Yeah, definitely. We'll ask you about your plants because that's what we're all about here, encouraging people to get out and grow, especially people who are challenged, with disabilities and with accessibility issues. And I know that's an issue for you as well. You're encouraging anyone and everyone who might want to get out and grow in the same way that we are. You've got Rural Tai Chi there, as we can see, a youth adventure program up there. And I went to your wonderful open day the other day. But look at these views as well that you've got. You're right next to the sea, aren't you, at San Martino de Porto? You're in the bay at Salir de Porto. If anyone's looked across from San Martino de Porto to the great big sand dune hill, that's you really, isn't it? You're over on that side of the water there. And look at these fabulous pictures.
Yeah.
Superb. And so it's like a bit of a private personal dream, but also you have a very sort of social enterprise vibe as well going on there, don't you, I think?
Yeah, and we started a non-profit organization at I can't remember the year now, but I think it's 2 years ago. Exactly. Yeah, what year are we? 2022, 21. So it started at the end of 2019, 2020. I've got lost with COVID. Sorry. Of course, we started just 2 months before we went into COVID, like a lot of projects. And the nonprofit organization, basically the objective is to bring people closer to nature, the environment and animals and each other, because my partner's Portuguese. We're very mixed, myself as well. We're very mixed background between Portugal, the UK, French, Canadian, etc. And we wanted to bring people together and kind of split that dynamics of, the English stick together because of language, the French together, etc. And also to bring people closer to the environment was really important. We're very, very active in beach cleans and just trying to do our part. We work with, now we're working with some international plastic artists, ocean plastic artists, and especially to bring the younger generation as well closer to nature, because obviously we all know the problems of screen time. So we started a youth program. We run a teenage program as well. We have a during the week program for homeschoolers. And then really we run a lot of events where we encourage everyone. It's really more of a family place, but people of all ages to come, meet, have coffee, We have a food trailer. We're getting an event tent. So we just try and get people to be happy and also network. I think the biggest thing that we've done for people so far is people show up here. They don't know anybody. They're a little bit lost. They may need, I don't know, just sometimes it's just a little bit of motivation talk. Sometimes it's a lot of people that come here. They've sold their properties in the UK or in Holland or in Belgium, and they don't have a garden anymore, because I don't know if you guys have visited Salir de Porto, but there's a lot of beautiful houses with no gardens.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're just happy to come and participate in some gardening in our horta, what they call it, like our kitchen garden, or plant some trees or whatever, and just chat and get to know each other and make some friends and go off from there. So yeah, that's kind of the whole purpose behind our project.
So it's all about community, isn't it? Connecting people up by
Yeah.
the sound of it. I mean, that's such a lovely option or opportunity you're giving people who've got an apartment. They're coming over to an apartment, and like you say, I mean, we talk about how people can grow things on their apartment balcony, but that's no good if they're not there for 48 weeks of the year or whatever. So they can come and join you as whilst they're on holiday or spending time in their Portuguese home, as well as all the other people you're joining up, the homeschoolers, young kids, and accessibility and disability, I suspect, is on your agenda as well. How have you managed to balance that? You're on quite a site, aren't you? And we know that that's a big challenge. Like wheelchair access, for example, on a very hilly site is a tough one.
So that's an interesting subject for us, because actually one for the local community. So we are planning eventually to work with the local, what they call the LAR, which is a old people's home. And it's something that we're always very conscious about, because the piece of land is quite rustic. So it's been a lot of work to get it accessible. Our first idea was to make sure that the driveway could be opened up so somebody that is in a wheelchair or that's limited mobility could reach our place and get to the bar. The first year we had an elderly lady that couldn't walk. Basically, she wanted to see the goats. The goats were a bit awkward. So we just went over, grabbed the goats and brought them to her. And that's kind of how we've done it. And now, obviously, we're bringing an event tent, and we've started trying to make it as accessible as possible. It's not easy. We are planning, because a cousin that's very close to me is special needs, and she spends a lot of time with us in the summer. And so basically we're trying to adapt the place little by little. It's step by step, because we're obviously funding everything ourselves. We don't have any government funding or anything like that. So we just try and make everything as accessible as possible. Obviously, we do have a special part in the woods that we've made wood paths and stuff. And unfortunately, I don't know in my lifetime if it'll be completely accessible, but the rest of it is. And we try and make sure that everybody can participate. So if somebody comes in a wheelchair, we go get the horse, we bring it to them. We go get the dogs, the cats, the ducks. Everyone's very social. Yeah. So we're not perfect, but we're trying our best to make it as accessible as possible, because it's definitely an important thing on ours.
Yeah, that's the spirit. Love that. John, I think John's got a question for you there.
Yeah, on that point, I was just wondering if if you are talking to local disabled people about sort of ideas for how to make the land accessible, and at all, if it's sort of talking to so people could give their own personal experience of good and bad accessibility ideas.
So that's a very good question. We haven't as of yet, because our project we've approached an association in Caldas, Romania, which, excuse me, because I've forgotten the name of it. But we have already talked to them about how, getting involved and helping us exactly kind of plan it in the future. We are quite lucky is that my cousin who lives here, who's part of the project as well, another cousin, she actually, that's what she does in the UK, is that she works for the Surrey County Council, and she's actually in charge of accessibility for everybody. So that's a good hand. But I will tell you, it's not easy when you're living on a farm and we're very limited because we are on a reserve. So what we have to do is we can't just pour cement anywhere. Our bathrooms are natural bathrooms still, and we're hoping to keep it that way as much as possible, compostable toilets. So we're always open to ideas, and anyone that's out there that can, shoot me down a little message and just say, hey, or come over and say, how this could be an idea, we're open to it. This is a project that started literally 3 years ago, and we've done, I'd say, 95% of it on our own. in the last 6 months, we have 1 or 2 volunteers that help us a lot. But it's, sometimes we need ideas from the outside. So if somebody's out there and wants to come and give us a hand or some ideas or whatever it may be, we're open to all of that.
I think I think if I was going to give you any kind of advice from my past experience, is don't feel guilty about it. Do the best you can with the money you've got, and just accept that you live in a nature reserve, and that has to come first. And just hold your hands up and say, we've got a car park, and this is a flat surface, and that's the best we can do. And work around that.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I think it's the approach we've taken. We obviously, as we have a non-profit association, we are 9 board members on that association, and one of our board members has limited mobility, I would say. So unfortunately for him, many times he'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not coming at night, Siobhan, because the night things, the lighting's not great and all that." So we always make sure that when that person does arrive, even if it's not perfect, we do try and give the best chairs, and that the car can drive up and drop the person off. And hopefully it will improve in time. But it is a big financial question, and also that we're on a reserve. So we just do our best. That's all we can do. And I can promise you, the people that know us know that, if we have to go and help somebody out of the car to bring them up the road, we'll do it. If it's not safe enough, we have had to close down on, obviously, because of this rain the last few months. We've had a few big events planned, and we did have to cancel because obviously safety is key for us as well. So
I love the spirit and the intention. It's everything, isn't it? And I think, Lee, that's good advice for anyone, isn't it? We're struggling with the same sort of issue. Do your best, right?
Dealt with it so many times, and you can throw all the money in the world at it, and you're never going to get it right for everybody. But if you explain to people that A, it's a nature reserve, and B, it's a financial burden, 99.9% of people accept that as not an excuse, as a genuine reason, and they accept it. Can I ask a question about your plants? You said earlier you've done 400 plants. Is that 400 different species of plants, or is that 400 plants? No. And what have you chosen? How did you make the decision on what to do?
I knew somebody was going to ask it. So I have to tell you guys something, is that I'm much more the technician on the ground. So my mom is the specialist when it comes to names of plants. So please don't ask me all the names, because I'm not very good at names of plants. Shame on me, because I studied biology at school. But I would say no. Most of our plants are plants. You have to remember, but I came here with this idea that, I've lived in Portugal before, so I'm not a newcomer like now, but having this big piece of land that I would grow all these apple trees and my orange trees and my lemon trees and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is that where we are living, we live right across from the bay. So we have a north wind off the bay. It's a saltwater, obviously saltwater in the air. You're limited to what grows. Okay, the plum trees. There's certain species that we can grow here, and some that don't. So we try as much as possible to keep it to local plants and trees. So it's not necessarily that diverse. I can't tell you how many species. There are a lot and different plants, but it's not as much as I would have dreamed to have had. Our idea now is, for instance, as we have a hill, you guys will have to come visit. A lot of the land is on a hill. We try to do some mixed forestry, so we're learning all about permaculture and different ways to do it. So we clear out a little bit of the bush, and we'll plant, for instance, avocado plants in the middle of it, try and keep them protected from the wind, because wind is a big factor and a killer. And we're learning in that sense, but we do have our one little tropical corner where we managed to plant 3 banana trees that are doing well. But otherwise, we don't necessarily have the most interesting of trees and plants. We try and do local stuff. So we've managed to have, be slightly successful with an apple tree. We do have some oranges and lime trees growing, but they're from babies, because we get advice from our local market and the local people that work here. Because if we come in with, I'll be guilty myself, like my ideas of making this place like, really, really tropical, it's not going to happen. So we've had to adapt a lot to the climate, and we work a lot with windbreakers, natural windbreakers, natural fences, that kind of stuff. But We don't have
I think
400 different species of plants.
I think you've just touched on one of our favourite bits of advice, is speaking to the local people at the market who give you the best advice because they know the climate.
Yes.
And they know exactly what does well in your area. If you wanted to go for more, if you wanted to go to more exotics and you wanted to get into more citrus fruits and apple trees and cherry trees, container trees do quite well. You won't get the same growth pattern, the same growth rates, but if you get a big enough container and if your horse can pull it up the hill, and then you get away from that salty soil, and any soil that you put into the container, if you cover it with a membrane and then put wood chip on it to protect it from from the sea breeze, you'll get away with using container trees.
And actually, you're right that we've tried many different things, and that is one of the things. To be honest with you, I don't know if it's cheating, but we are going into, like, for our kitchen garden for next year, we are putting up a small greenhouse to help us just to contain the soil. And we're very, very lucky is that we have my horse, and we have, my mom told me, because she's a gardener, so when she told me like 3 years ago, just keep adding that manure, and you'll see, because we have a soil that goes literally from clay to sand. There's no mixing. And we've put tractor loads and tractor loads. By the way, if anyone's in the association, you get free manure, so just come get it. Even if you're not if you do it yourself, you can always get free manure. Just bring your bags and your spade. I can lend you a spade.
Sorry, I put a few of my videos on the Facebook page in the past, because when we started our veg garden, it was 99% sand. And all I've done is added green manure, just anything cut in, any bits of green. And now we're 3-4 years into it, and the soil is almost perfect.
So I believe you, because I see it now.
Just churning in all the time, and you'll get there in the end.
We even have green grass. Yeah. So our neighbors swore we'd never be able to grow anything, and now they're just so impressed, and so are we, because it's nice to see the hard work, because it's a lot of hard work, obviously, but it's paid off, and the land now, we have a lot of spots in the land where it's completely black and fertile and able to grow other things. I would say that the hardest things for us still is like tomato plants, things like that, and I'd say that's more of an air problem, probably, than actually the soil, because of
the wind,
being exposed to the salt, the wind, and if we have a rain, and that's the hardest for us where we are.
Yeah, amazing. And clearly it's not just a growing project, is it? It's all kinds of aspects there. I mean, we're just having a quick look at your Facebook page, and you're doing, is that bicycle recycling as well there? Is that another one of your projects?
Yeah, we're a little bit, because actually my background is in the competitive sport world, in horse and cycling, mountain biking. So most of the people don't know that, but we are, for this year, last year, we started a recycle program. So our idea is to recycle bikes. Obviously, we have a load of bikes at the moment, but we're just working on the project. So there's some volunteers that are helping us out. And really the thing is to bring everybody back to the roots. So even the kids, like, we teach them how to change a tire, or use mountain bikes that we don't really like wasting as little as we can. I'd say 80% of this whole project, if you visited, you'd know it's like recycled everything. And so the bikes are the same. So now we have a bunch of bikes that at the moment we use it just for our members and our clubs. And we have people from the village that come, and if they need, for instance, their kids outgrown their bike, and we know that they need help, then we'll pass them over another bike. It's really, this is a big community project. As I said, it's at the beginning, so there's lots of things, I think, exciting things that are planned for the following years. And we've had an amazing support. When we started, we thought we were completely crazy, and this year I think the association itself has over 150 members already.
Fantastic.
And it's a fun place. It's nice that we're not only catering to the foreigners, we're very into sharing like Portuguese culture and having our Portuguese friends and community come over. It's a big factor for us. But obviously, in the area that we're at, the big boom at the moment is all the expats coming in, and I think it's just often people feel a little bit alone. my partner also teaches Portuguese, so we have Portuguese conversational groups. This is just kind of like a site, where people can get together. And I'd say we get together more when it stops raining, because that's a moment.
You said something before as well. We help people get to the bar. That sounds interesting, didn't it, Lee?
Well, my ears pricked up then, because I thought, would I just hear that? Is there a bar there?
Yeah.
And can I drive
we
to
do.
it? Because that sounds
so
perfect.
We do have a bar. We are, at the moment, you have to stay tuned, because we did decide not to open every single day. In the summer we were. We have an old, because we're really into recycling, so we have an old wine barrel that was originally, I think it was I can't remember how many liter wine barrel it is, but it was actually out of an old adega. Friends gave it to us. We renovated it. We turned it into a bar. And
I've had a drink from it. It's fantastic. Louisa and I were looking at it thinking, that's really impressive. It's like 7 or 8 feet high, isn't it, this barrel that you've turned into?
7, 8. Yeah, well, no, it's probably 7 foot high. Yeah, and then we have another one as well, but that one is our bar. It's called the Barrel Bar. So it's kind of become a little bit of a secret place where, we get people showing up from Portugal, from Lisbon or from the Algarve. They come to hunt us out for the little bar. We will be open more, but
it's not a secret anymore.
It'll be more events. And then we have well, you saw it. We have a food trailer as well, and that was a recycled old camping tent trailer. With our volunteers, they helped us do that out. So we have a 5-star kitchen here now, and then the event tent. So hopefully by next year we'll be able to do like fun, I don't know, garden weddings or farm weddings or farm birthdays and stuff like that. Yeah,
fantastic.
And get people out. And we just tell people, don't wear fancy high heels, because normally when you come here they break anyway. So it's
all right, I won't do that next time I come. That's brilliant. I think we might have a few comments or questions, Anna, that have come in, or John. If you I don't know if you might pick something up there.
I was just keeping others. I think Matthew might have sent in a few. I think I'm just trying to work out which one of my which one of my page filling questions to ask as well. And I've just noticed Matthew sent in a question for Lee as well. So I'm just trying to work out which one to go with, and which ones to.
What's your question, Anna? It'd be interesting to hear what you've got to ask, Siobhan.
I've literally got a whole page full, so I'm just trying to work out which one to. That last 5 minutes.
Anna, be nice. It's my first time on the radio.
But I was going to say, is it easy sort of keeping the balance of like spreading words, sort of knowing you want to sort of promote sort of the environment and everything about it, and obviously making it sort of knowing it's got so many sort of different other sort of activities for people as well. Is it quite tricky getting the balance in sort of what people want and spreading the environment word as well?
Yeah. I think it's interesting what you're saying, and because I'd say this whole project's is growing organically. We haven't done, for instance, we haven't pushed hard on certain marketing. If things comes to us, we discuss it and we see what people want and how we can accommodate those things. But I will be honest, we've kept true to ourselves, because we've had many people show up here and say like, oh yeah, let's do this. You got to do this. You got to do that. And obviously I'll be really honest. We started this project. We had zero money. So we did a tiny GoFunding at the beginning to start the association. But because of COVID, I was working online. I lost my job and my partner as well. So, all this has really been organic. And sometimes it is difficult to prioritize what we should do next or what we shouldn't do. And sometimes when we think we should do something, a weather factor will come in and blow that out. So it isn't easy, but we do try now. We have a really good community around us. Our association members have become friends. And so we try and discuss it all together and kind of focus. And Anna, that's exactly what we're doing at the moment, our work. So while it's raining, it's good because it keeps me inside, because I'm not very good at staying inside. But we are restructuring everything so that we have kind of a schedule going on for next year, and we'll choose, okay, this is where we're going, this is the priority, and then stop there. We may have to adapt, and maybe some projects. That's why the recycling program didn't come out full on this year, because we had to we started it to collect bikes, but we didn't put it as a priority.
No, it sounds right.
things, and that's how it is.
Like really or truly organic, and guided by nature. I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it? For sure. Yeah, rather than forcing anything. And because we've all learned our lessons with those with that kind of approach. I think we're living in it, aren't we? Love what you're doing, says the lovely Nancy Medwell, who's joined us tonight. Thanks for joining us, Nancy. Just moved here, and your mission, your generous hearts, is a big highlight of being in Portugal. How about that, Siobhan? Made some wonderful new friends at the Quinta. How about that? An astounding project, says Fiona. Any pics of the manure producers?
Okay.
We did that before.
He's and one of the experiments, it's just an experiment that we've tried this year, but the weather hasn't held up, is actually started making bricks out of manure to use as fuel in the fire.
Oh, very good.
But
very good.
Impossible to get them to dry so far. So no, the manure maker can be seen during the winter with me. We're allowed to ride on the beach, so just so that's clear. So if you sometimes see a white horse riding along the bay, that's him. That's a Portuguese horse as well. It's a Lusitano.
That must be a
wonderful
moment
right.
for you. That must be a wonderful moment for you, Siobhan, to be riding with the wind in your hair on the beach, sand in your face and the wind in your hair. That's fantastic. And let me just scroll down a little bit, looking at all the manure makers of Quinta Salir de Porto. Look at that. Beautiful. And you got some special goats there as well, I understand.
Special. They're special to us. So they're just little goats.
Yeah.
We have quite a few of them, but we actually did consider, some of you might have seen, selling a couple of them just to downsize a bit, because they spend more time in my horse's shelter than doing their work.
Oh.
But we have this wonderful teenage club, as I said, youth club, and they came to me during the Christmas market and told me that they would protest if any of the goats were to be sold or left. So as I'm proud of them for sticking up for their beliefs, I said, okay, we'll rediscuss it in January. So it looks like we'll just be refencing more of the forest, and the goats will be staying.
Oh, great. Go on, Lee.
But they're nice.
Can I just ask, do you have a press for making your manure brick fuel?
So we do. We have one of these brick presses. I don't know if you've seen one before.
I have. That's what I was going to suggest. If you get a big tarpaulin, a big mat, lay out your manure thinly for the day. Let it dry out with the sun or with the warm wind, and then you pack it into a brick press and just spray it lightly with a what would you call it, Carl? For spraying.
Oh, a mister.
Yeah, water spray.
Yeah, a mister. If you give it like misted and then push it into the brick press, it works brilliantly. Although it stinks when you burn it.
That's it. So this was our question. Whether it smells. So we decided we'd only try it outside to make sure that we don't stink out our cabin first.
It's not an offensive smell, but people will know you're burning. But they will know you're burning.
Really? Okay.
It's similar to burning peat. It burns really well. You get a lot of heat off it. It lasts a long time, but it does have a very distinctive smell to it.
Amazing. A bit like French cigarettes. Okay, well, that's very interesting. John, I understand if you've got to go. It's actually 7 o'clock. We've been busy talking to Siobhan here, who's here from the Quinta Salir de Porto. Thank you so much for joining us. Do pop back, Siobhan, from time to time. I know you're really busy, but it was been so lovely. And Matty wants to visit, and we've got one question that we need to answer from him. But when I want to visit, he's starting something called the Pain Farm, because he does a revolutionary new pain management technique. And he wants to kind of akin to setting for that, which sounds like a great idea. When he comes to visit you, I mean, people can't just rock up. They've got to wait for an event, haven't they, and get involved via Facebook?
We are planning to start being open every Saturday and Sunday, so that people can stop in and have a coffee and chat with us. Yeah. And otherwise, I would just say, if you go on the site and you send me a message on Messenger, or one of us on Messenger, we just book an appointment and you come over. So that's... Except we're normally around most days. It's just, unless you want to be trampled by teenagers certain days, it's better that you just ask. But Saturday and Sunday are quiet days unless there's a special event going on. So everyone's welcome to come by and have coffee with us or whatever.
Oh, that's cool. It's Dolly Goat on Facebook there, /Dolly Goat. That's good to me.
Can I just get a quick question before we finish? Do you still have a GoFundMe, or is it somewhere people can donate to? You just want to get it out there?
Good question.
So Yeah, we don't no longer have a GoFundMe, but we are setting up like new memberships. So we're looking for more and more people to join as memberships with different types of memberships. And it should be on the site already, but it's in the middle of being updated. So if you guys, we do have a lot of people, which touches me deeply, that want to support this project. So the best thing to do is just send us a little message, and then we can tell you how to do it, or to send the money directly to the association, or however. There's many ways people can help. So just to get in touch.
Do you want to plug your Instagram or your TikTok, or is there any other social media you're using?
So yeah, we're on everything. We're on Quinta Salir. So Quinta, which means a farm, AQUIN. Oh, can I write that somewhere?
I've put it on the screen already, Siobhan.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, you can contact us. You can follow us on Quinta. We also have the Instagram for Salir de Porto as well, and Facebook is the same, Quinta Salir. What else is there? And TikTok, I won't tell you because I'm really not very good at it yet.
You have to talk to Lee about that.
It's Miss Piggy, yeah.
That is superb. Thank you so much. A quick question then for the group mind here. A question comes to mind: how and when should I arrange the grapevine so they climb the metal frame in the way I like them to do? Talk to them nicely. Isn't that the way to do it, Lee?
Beat them with a big stick until they submit to you. No, they're going to start shooting now. They're going to start putting on lots of new growth, especially this rain we've had. So be selective when you're cutting the limbs that you want to save, and always think ahead to the shape you want and the distance you want to take them. So prune with the thought of how they're going to develop in the future, and go for the biggest frame you can get, because the more frame you've got, the more grapes you're going to get, and the easier it will be to look at them.
There you go. Nice advice. Thank you, Lee. Thanks for a great show, says OLP. Over there in Oregon, would you believe, Siobhan? We've had someone tuned in from Pips from Botswana, the OLP there in Oregon. People all over the world tuned in tonight to find out about your well-kept secret. I think you said not anymore. People, especially with Lee, finding out about the bar. That's it now.
I'm there next week.
Hey, Lee, actually, I have a question. When are you? I think Lee can be very helpful. I'm sure we can figure out some kind of trade system. So Lee, we may need you around here.
Give him beer and he'll spill the beans. No problem. So
awesome.
Great show. Have a grand evening. Carl, Alan, John and Lee, special guest. Go on, Lee.
If you actually intend to do the greenhouse and the propagation, I have 1,000,001 plastic pots that I've been saving that I wish to fob off on somebody. And they do actually cost a fortune to buy, so that will make it that way.
Okay, and what we do is, if we don't want some, we share it off. But it's funny because I actually gave away all my plastic pots last year because I didn't have any plan of doing a greenhouse. So we may need them, but we do have, as I said, it's a very community here. So we do that with everything. If somebody brings extra plots and we don't need it, we pass it on to somebody else. And if somebody else, that person doesn't need it, it goes to the local charities. So we're very, very involved with the local charity stuff. So cool. And Lee, anyone that wants to stop by.
What are you doing irrigation wise? I know we're getting to the end of the show, but I'm just being nosy. If you're going to do a greenhouse and if you've got new shoots coming in, how do you find your irrigation system in it like a natural woodland? Do you run one, or do you rely on rainfall?
So unfortunately, we have a well that's dried out in the back of our land. And so we have to be very careful with water because the only water access we have is off the mains. So besides, we do recuperate as much rain water as possible, but it always seems to be bad timing because, for instance, now we should have all our recuperators out for the greenhouse, but the greenhouse isn't in place yet. So it's a technical thing. It's a very difficult thing. The thing that I do the most, though, to avoid using too much water is I use the manure a lot to kind of, use it like an extra layer, and that helps a lot. All the old hay, the manure, everything, I just layer on it, and we just try and keep the watering down as much as possible and reuse as much as the recuperated water we can.
Again, using that manure, it's a real sponge for water. It really does hold water well. Even when you think it's dry, if you squeeze it, there's always that little bit left in there. Perfect. You're
That's
doing
the secret. Don't all go running out and get horses, okay? And if you do call me, I'll tell you. I'll convince you not to. Much rather, there's always enough manure for everybody. So just come and get some.
Well, lovely offer. Right. And look, Fiona will have your pots, Lee. There you go, as always.
There you go.
That's fantastic. John, great suggestion, a part 2. But so you're always welcome. You've got a key to the studio now, Siobhan. It's been lovely to meet you tonight. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
There you go.
Bye, everyone. Thanks very much.
It's been such a good show. We're way over time, and we need to run the titles, and we'll see you again next week. Take care, and bye for now. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Ciao, ciao. Bye.